Greetings. You may recall that I recently acquired a new tarot deck. It's called the Murder of Crows Tarot, and it's a Los Scarabeo deck. Same people that did the Santa Muerte deck, I believe. Yes, same kind of box. That's what I think. Same kind of box. Really nice box. Anyway, I believe I shared this deck with you. I haven't done any real work with it yet, too much work with it, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I loved the images when I saw them on somebody's channel sharing the, I think it was either Simon or Kelly, A Truth and Story, or both, I'm not sure. They shared this deck, and I was really taken by the imagery. It's dark. It's a dark deck. My husband was a little creeped out when he saw the images, but I really loved it, and I do like to work in shadow in the dark of the year. I love to have decks that are in shadow, they're dark, a darker deck, to balance some of the ones that are very much not. Um, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. So one way I thought I would find out how it could help me, perhaps, is I thought I would interview the deck and let the deck tell me how it could be beneficial to me. And I found in one of my, as I was going through some of my old bullet journals, before I archived them, I saw an old spread in there that I used to do called the interview spread, which is a real nice little 6-card spread that I thought would be perfect for this, because it's perfect for any kind of a deck. Usually, get a way to get when you get a new deck. I think it's important to get to know the deck, but let's see how it's going to read for you before you really attempt to do readings, and I'll talk more about that another time. But anyway, simple 6-card spread, and I wanted to share with you what I got. But before I do so, I want to say that as much as I say, I'm sort of on two sides about reading the book. I'm against just reading the book and walking away, and when you do a reading, seeing what the book says and reading the meaning and going to the next card. I'm really against doing that. I want you to be able to read intuitively. I want you, if you're going to be a reader, I want you to be able to, look at the context where the card is. There's so many variables that are going to affect the meaning of any card, far beyond what it says in the book. Some books give you very little information, if any. But I wanted to say that in the beginning, when you first get your deck, again, I want to repeat that it's very useful to look and see the developer of the deck had an idea in mind when the deck was produced, when the images were chosen, and then the meanings were written in the book. They had a very specific idea, and it's important that you know what that was to better understand the deck. So in this case, with this reading, this interview, I thought it was very important to look in the book. Okay, and we're going to get to one point about that in a few minutes. But anyway, I don't want to make this a long video. It's just a little spread you can use. This, it's really good to use with every brand new deck you get, no matter what the deck is, but also, and this is a tarot deck. I wouldn't use this interview spread for other kinds of deck, but with a tarot deck, yes. And again, we'll talk about that another time. But anyway, specific to a tarot deck. And it doesn't have to be a brand new deck. That you could have had the deck and you just maybe weren't sure how to read it, or it's not reading very clearly for you. Then do this interview spread. It can be with an old deck to reacquaint yourself, or to acquaint yourself better with an old deck that you have. Okay, so I'm going to change my camera, and then I'm going to show you what I got. Okay, here you have a simple 6-card layout. The imagery is a little dark, of course, so I'll try to do my best with the light. I'll try to hold this up a little bit better into the camera so you can see. But I want to show you the process. That's really more important than the reading. I have my book. I have the little book ready. And we begin here with this is the number one position of the card. And this says, this is the number one card reads, please introduce yourself. Okay. And here we see that I have the King of Cups, which is interesting. I thought that was very interesting because um, let's see what the book says about that. I already know what it says, but I thought you might like to hear what it says to give you an idea how this deck is laid out. Okay, it says, well, it talks about. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I don't need to, but it talks about he has a very clear, agile mind and understanding an agile mind. His goblet, it mentions his goblet shows a clear reflection, which I thought was kind of interesting because here it is a dark card, and here we do see a glint, really a good glint of light in this very, very large goblet, which is maybe important. The book says, wise counsel is his greatest gift, and he is generous in sharing it. His cool head balances his strong heart, and he makes no move out of anger or anxiety. But his brow is troubled, his joy dimmed by taking on others' pain. The Lord of the Hall's wise counselors, thought and memory, take their proper place at his side. He has learned to listen to each in turn, knowing it is unwise to trust only his judgment. Wisdom is learning to balance the advice of heart, mind, body, and spirit. Well, this is an interesting card to me because I thought right away, I'm a triple Cancer. I'm very intuitive. I'm an empath. I'm highly emotional. I usually think with my heart. I react with my heart and my feelings. Um, this is very interesting because even though he does have a lot of wisdom and he loves to have a strong heart, he knows that he is not the only voice that counts. And I'm taking that as something to lead my direction when working with this deck because I do have a tendency, this is personal, but it might help you to see how I take what's in the book and apply it to my own situation. I do have a tendency to, you know, really judge and react to things with my emotions, with my heart, with my intuition. I get strong feelings. Now it's nothing wrong with having really strong feelings or intuitive thoughts, but realizing that it is just as important to listen to the facts. It is just as important to listen to the reason. It is just as important to keep other opinions or ideas in mind and not just my own. So this is a really good. I love this. This deck is a deck that perhaps that can be used for me to help me see and something that is not just my own um, intuition, something a little beyond that. Okay, so I mean, yes, keep it in mind, and also I see it as something that will work with my intuition, as this King of Cups indicates. Okay, so I thought that was kind of interesting, very interesting, just a nice, interesting start. Okay, this is the second position, and I have the cards sort of pushed up together because they have to fit here on my camera. But this is card 1 and card 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6. However you want to lay it out is not that terribly important. But just so you see the positions. This is number 2 card, and number 2 and 3, they play against each other. They play against or with each other because number 2 is what are your strengths as a deck, and number 3 is what are your limitations as a deck. I apologize for the car alarm going off in the cul-de-sac. And there it goes. Okay, thank you. My neighborhood is quite noisy, even when it's empty, with the waterfalls and the chickens and the roosters and the front door and the dogs. But anyway, so anyway, I like readings who have these uh, past, future, above, below, behind, in front, um, negative, positive, negatives, or whatever. I like it when I get some kind of a balance in the reading. So this is what are the strengths, what are the limitations. Well, let's look at the strengths first, because the strength, curiously, is card 10 of the major arcana, which is the wheel. Okay, and it was really interesting the way their viewpoint on the wheel, because the wheel, of course, we know talks about all the ups and downs in life. You know, sometimes things go our way, sometimes they do not go our way. And what this card is saying, which I found very interesting in this deck, is it's talking about, it says time. Well, here it says, the wheel spins and you rise to the top. It spins again and sends you crashing down into the briars. What goes up, here I'll hold the card up so you can see better. What goes up must come down. Today, tomorrow, next year, some year. Time has no interest in our comforts, our decisions, all our plans and schemes, our hopes and fears. It is the apex predator at this strange landscape. It buoys you up, it pulls you down. The moment will come again when you have the power to choose. While you cannot change the greater workings of the universe, you may choose what to do when chance is in your favor. You decide what to do when you are again at the bottom of the heap. I love that. I really love that because we forget that. Sometimes when we're reading the Wheel of Fortune, we say, well, you know, things are going to be great. We might say things are really great right now, but things, you know, don't get too comfortable because, you know, nothing lasts. Or we might say, oh, you're really down right now, but don't worry about it too much because you're down now, but time will come again when you're up. Okay. That's sort of a typical way of reading this Wheel of Fortune or wheel, whatever cards is called the wheel here. Um, what I find interesting about this deck and what the strength of this deck supposedly is saying, the strength of the deck supposedly is this is showing me that I will have that chance to choose. I choose what to do when things are good, but I also choose what to do when things are not so good. Offering me this deck, perhaps offering me insight as to what choice it is that I need to make in both of those situations, right? It's not just, oh, too bad, feel better soon. It's like reminding me that I have a choice and here's my choice. So in future readings, perhaps when I do with this deck, hopefully that I can find this kind of advice the deck might be giving me. Okay. So that's a really cool, that's a very strong, good strength. I like that so far. And here, now this is an interesting thing. Card 3 asks, what are your limitations of a deck? Now, I want to say, I do not normally read reversals. I sometimes do. I sometimes consider reversals. But when I dealt these cards, this card was reversed. Which I mean by that is it came out that way. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, in the Murder of Crows book, there are no meanings given for reversals because it even says very clearly um, the Murder of Crows was created so that you may explore the mysterious realms of an ethereal world, meeting its usual inhabitants and finding its secrets. For this reason, reverse meanings are not given for each card in this process. For each card, as this process will be much easier for you if the characters are not standing on their heads. And then it says, that being said, if you wish to read a reversal, you might consider some of the following points. You know, different ways to read reversals. And of course, I'm going to be doing a video very soon just on reversals. I've been promising you that, and it is on my list of, of future readings to do, future videos to do. But here, what I thought was interesting, did I want to look into it? Well, the fact that this card was offered as a limitation, this card is in the position of what are the limitations? Okay, first of all, okay, and this deck, Four of Wands, is usually a card of success or celebration, you know, because It's usually for people celebrating something. Well, what is so limiting about a celebration? Okay. So I was curious and I thought, well, for that purpose, and here I'll give you a better look on the, sorry, I'll give you a better look on there. So for that reason, I thought it would be interesting to consider what this card in reverse might be, or what some of the reverse uh, indications might be. Okay, I'm looking over the suggestions for how to read reversals if I so choose with this deck that's in the book. And one of them offers the suggestion to read the reversals as an indication that there is an opportunity for healing in this area. Okay, now, again, what are the limitations of this deck? Um, the description of this card, let me put this down so I can pick up the book. The description of the card, 4 of Wands. It's kind of backwards. Here we go, 4 of Wands. This is kind of neat. All right, let me read what it says about the 4 of Wands first of all. Then we will consider what the shadow, what the limitations, how that could be a limitation, okay? The 4 of Wands says the strange possession winds its way through the fields. It calls it a strange possession because there's 3 people with 3 masked people. One, it's just like, it's kind of weird. It's sort of a bleak, it's a very bleak, if it's a celebration, it's very bleak. In this bleak and desolate land, any harvest is a blessing to be celebrated. Voices live together, joyous at new life, springing up and sorrowfully remembering those who passed beyond the veil of the season. Each cycle brings new joy and sorrow. These rituals help us find and hold our places on the wheel. Now, what are the limitations then of this card? The limitations of this card could be that the um, that everything is offered in shadow and in joy. That two sides all the time. You know that's gone an extreme. It's sort of gone to an extreme here with this deck. That I see too much darkness and light together all the time, and you'll see what happens. I mean, you already saw in the King of Cups. You know, King of Cups. Everybody usually loves to see the King of Cups coming up. Okay, it's usually a very positive, good sign. Here we see the King of Cups, and he's saying, you know, but my word's not the only thing. Don't just take me to lunch, you know, take other people. Here's the wheel. Again, good, positive, good times, bad times. Here we go, a celebration. Well, it's a bleak celebration, but then it says, well, we should celebrate everything. We should celebrate the good times and the bad. Okay? Voices lifting together, the joyousness of the new life springing up, and the sorrowfulness of remembering those who have passed beyond. Okay. So maybe that's a limitation. I would consider that maybe to be a limitation. Instead of getting a clear answer, we're getting both sides. We're just getting both sides. So this is maybe a really good deck. I would say at this point, I might be saying, you know, this is a really good deck to use for contemplation. Not what I'm really trying to find answers so much, but more what I'm trying to find comfort. Or more what I'm trying to understand what's happening on this wheel. Maybe more that what I'm trying to, um, you know, how do I deal with this kind of thing? What do I, you know, those kind of things. So that's something to consider. I like that a lot. And this is going to tell us more because card number 4 is what can I learn from you? What can I learn from you? And here we have the 6 of Swords. And remember, the 6 of Swords is all about this getting away, transitioning somewhere new, taking only what you need, not looking behind, just moving forward. Just moving forward. And let's see what this card says. The 6 of Swords. Okay, let me hold that up. I don't know if that helps. I really don't know if that helps. I'm trying. Okay. The Six of Swords. The land is hushed as you approach the shore. Rolling mists obscure the far bank. The ferryman beckons you into the boat. This place holds a familiar loneliness, a feeling you have outgrown, like a too tight skin. There is no guarantee that the next world holds any greater promise, but still in hope you step into the boat for the chance of a better life beyond the tides. Okay. What can I learn from you? Well, we can learn from you that there is no guarantees. We can learn from you that it's going to be something new. We don't know if it's good or bad. It's not going to be the same. Things are never the same. You can't ever go back. And it's kind of funny because, you look at when you look at the Six of Cups, the Six of Cups is all about going back, right? All about being nostalgic and reliving those good memories. Well, here the Six of Swords say, there's no guarantee of what lies ahead, but you can have hope. You've got to hope. You step into the boat and you go forward. Okay. So then this lesson is going to be learning. I'm going to be learning that lesson, I think, from this deck, or reminded of that lesson in readings from this deck. And when we do spreads like this, it's really important that you write it down. You write down notes because you can go back and look at that at another time. You can go back and look at that another time. The next time I pull out this deck to do a reading, I need to maybe go back and look and remind myself about the interview I had with this deck and see, maybe how that can help me. Okay. Now, what is the best way to work with you? I thought this card blew me away especially when I read in the book. This is the world. This is the world. I mean, the sun card. This is the sun card. I don't want to say that. This is the sun card in the Murder of Crows Tarot. Okay, instead of a baby on a horse, that ugly baby, this is somebody on this back of a crow. Okay, the back of the crow. The sunflowers are still in the light of the sun behind, but they're just in black and white. This is a very beautiful card, I think. It's a very moving card. But what is the best way to work with you? Oh, I was blown away. Let's first of all read what it said about it in the sun. Then maybe you can understand why it blew me away. Maybe not. Okay, let's pull that up and read it. It bows before you, glistening like shining oil. You climb onto its back, and great soft wings carry you up above mist and smoke and doubt. From this height, you see the world anew, where living things sprout and grow out of the concealing shadows, where hearts seek the light. As you fly higher and higher, the light causes your skin to glow with a newfound brilliance. This is who you are, this shining soul held aloft in the darkness. This is a world of opportunities to seek out and find great joy. Okay, what is the best way? What is the best way? Well, you'll say, well, that was sort of silly. Is it really? It's talking about seeing from this height, seeing the world with fresh eyes from this height. And I had an experience. If you get an opportunity, I will try to find the exact link and put it below. If you're interested, if you have not read the story about about Bird, the original crow that started my relationship with the crows, I'm not sure how many years ago. But it it was an amazing, amazing experience that happened to me. I have I think a few blog posts on one of my other blog sites. I'm not sure where it is. I'll have to find it and link it to you. The story of Bird, how it came to me. But most brilliant about the whole situation was I sat here at my table looking out my window here to the side, and I see these tall cypress trees that my neighbor has planted along her border, and the crows go up, high, 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 up at the very tip and sit. And it is from that height that they have the vantage point to see everything around them. Their vision is absolutely very cute, and I have this experience with Bird that actually reminded me to be able to get above and look down on situations, to try to rise above the situation up to a vantage point, just like I was a crow perched up in one of those trees, and look at things with those eyes. And it changed my life. It really did change my life, I have to say. And so this came up and saying, what is the best way to work with you? This is reestablishing, reaffirming the relationship I have with the crow, with this deck. And I think this is going to be a really wonderful deck that's going to provide me with all kinds of insights um, by using it in the period of time to come. So I was excited about that. Okay, and finally, card number 6 is, what will the final be the final outcome of our relationship? Okay, well here, this is interesting. This is the here we go, the 6 of Cups. This is exactly what I was talking about before, the 6 of Cups, which is normally a nostalgia card, isn't it? It's the going back in time, or it's the sharing of, you know. Here we have, let me see what the book says about the 6 of Cups here. 6 of Cups. And again, it's talking about similar times or memories, going back into your memory, nostalgia. That's typically the way it is. And in this deck, here we have a crow sitting there in front of a mirror, like a looking glass or whatever. He sees in himself. He actually sees himself in the mirror, a reflection. But we know a lot of times, birds, for one, I don't know about crow, but birds, for one, a lot of times are curious about I used to have parakeets, little budgies, and we used to keep little mirrors in their cage because they would actually fall in love and talk and coo to the other bird in the mirror. Right? That was companionship for some of them. Well, here, this a little different because crows are really, really intelligent. Crows and ravens are so highly intelligent. And here, this card is saying, out of the night, a sudden vision startles you, your very own reflection. It seems impossible that you are the being you spy in the looking glass. You wonder when things change so drastically. Let your mind drift back to the times you remembered, the joys of the rose-colored world. Be kind to yourself. Remember yourself as you were before things came sour. Okay, so this is I'm saying, perhaps in this deck, this is, yes, that good looking back, but it's looking back during periods of times when you're feeling bad. You know, I like to do that. I'm getting turning. As a crone. I have to tell you, the shock that I get when I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror every once in a while. I try not to look too often, but it's sometimes a big shock to realize that that old woman in that mirror is me. That's not what I used to look like. I told you in jest, I used to get that joke. I used to joke with my husband about that. I see him still as the same person I've seen him every day of his life since he was 16 years old. And every once in a while, I look at him, I go, oh my, what the hell happened to you? Like, I see him as an older man. I see him as an old man now sometimes. And I'm like, it's a joke. It's a joke because still in my heart and in my mind, when I seen him, his aura, his soul, I see him the same way always. That hasn't changed. But this is saying in this deck, with this deck, that let this deck serve you to, it's sort of a place of coming back and getting that, when you're having difficulties remembering who you are, remembering or feeling detached somehow from who you once were, for whatever reason. This deck is a good way to pull yourself back. This is what it's saying to me. A good way to pull myself back and remember I'm still the same person. I haven't changed that much. It's what's around me has changed. And of course, the effects it has on me, I can feel the effects on me, but I'm still that same person. Be kind to me. Be kind to me. That's what it's telling me. Anyway, that's, Take that with a grain of salt. How you feel about that? Let me get my camera back so I can see you. I don't know if that was anything that interested you or not. I have to say, it did wonders for me. It did wonders for me. Because I knew I was going to like the deck, but I wasn't sure how to work with it. I thought, oh, do I have to just work with it in the dark time of the year? Because like some decks, I really tend to only work with during the dark part of the year for shadow work. I tend to, like the Deviant Moon. I love the Deviant Moon, but I really tend to just use it during for shadow work. The Santa Muerte deck, I tend to only use at the time when I'm trying to communicate with the ancestors at times like that. So they sort of have their limitations with me. But this deck, and when I first purchased this deck and looked at the imagery, I thought, and my husband said, "Oh, it's so dark." um, I thought, oh, it's going to be therapeutic in a lot of times, but I didn't think of it quite as being as useful as I see it now that I've done the interview. It's really opened my eyes to how I might use this, and it makes me excited because I just recently ordered, which is coming like tomorrow, I think. Um, an oracle deck, a crow oracle deck, which I'll share with you when I got it. So I was real excited about that one. So I just because I'm thinking, I have to really work with this relationship that I have with the crow energy. It's so strong with me. I have such a close relationship that I really like working. I feel good working with the crows. I don't want to just work with crows, but there are times when it's really wonderful and it helps to clarify what I need. Anyway, let me know if you do this interview spread. I will put I'll try to link down below. I'm only going to try to do this. The six questions that you ask, cards 1 to 6, and then you can lay it out any way you wish. It doesn't matter. Whatever, I lay it to fit my camera. You can lay it however you like. It makes best sense to you. Okay, that's all for today. That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. I really appreciate my loyal subscribers who keep coming back. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all blessings.